You joined in 72?
No, I had been around Tookie. When I transferred from off Hoover, off the east side, and moved on 83rd and Western, that means I went from Bred Hart Junior High to Horace Mann. The first girl I ever met there, when I signed into school, because I didn't carry no books. I told you I hadn't been going to class, so I'm just going to class because it's the first day. But I'm not carrying nothing, so usually they'll say, could somebody help Melvin? And it just so happened this girl who said they'll help me was Tookie's sister, Bridget. So I had been around them because by now I'm a juvenile delinquent. See, they hadn't had the term gangbanging established then. So this prior to that. So at this time, I already had been around Tookie and them since the 8th grade, where they'll be here, him, Mouse and them, and the older ones. Then we'll have Rusty, Cutes, and us, and it'll be the next level. So we had been around them since the 8th grade. But in 72 is when the Crips first got public acknowledged.
Okay, so what year did you officially join the Crips?
The day they started on the west side.
And that day was?
They've been around since about 71.
71. Okay. And what was that crew actually called during that time?
Well, they've always had gangbanging, so you'll get a full grasp of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like on the east side, before there were Crips, you had Slausons, South Park, Manchester Park Boys, Cafe Boys, Smacks. These all evolved into being up under one umbrella, Crips. So on the west side, I wasn't with no gangs. I mean, as far as no cliques. I was a clique and my crew. So we end up being H-Ray gangsters. But coming up, you had Cafe Boys, you had Smacks, but I worked with both of them. We applied our trade where we was like freelancing.
Okay. So the H-Ray Gangsters is based on the street name 83rd.
Yes.
Okay. Was there a reason why you called yourselves the H-Ray Gangster Crips?
I named us Gangster Crips because when we was coming up, we grew up on cop movies, The Untouchables, Elliot Ness, Humphrey Bogart. And we used to have a little game where we, come and get me, copper, and stuff like this. And then we also had a different standard where before Colors was out, we had a different way where you could identify us before Colors even came. Because prior to that, as being a Westside Crip, we wore the cross earrings. And this was going toward the prevalence of colors, what I talked about. See, people have to know the order that this go, and then you'll get a better picture of what we're trying to convey. Before Gangster Crips, you have to discuss the West Side, East Side, and Compton. We didn't have colors. We wore cross earrings. That's how you knew the difference between the Crips. They didn't have Bloods. You had Pyru, Van Eds, Karate Families, Swans, Bishops. So there wasn't this era. We don't skip when we were West Side Crips. So once that happened, now when the Gangster Crips come out, this is when internal struggles started, and they started to try to get a structure, and everybody started going into sets at this time, and that's when you start getting the 60s, the A-Trays, the 9-0s, the Undergrounds, the Blocks. All these sets that you see have names behind them with the final ending saying Crip. That was later on.
Okay. So you said that you've seen people get killed since around 12 or 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
How old were you when you first saw someone get killed?
Probably 66. Whenever Sam Cooke got killed, because we were staying on 92nd and Hoover at that time. And a little while after that, my mama sent me to the store to get some bread. And I walked in where a guy had shot somebody in the head in the store, right when I was walking in, he was shooting him, and he looked at me, did like this, and took the rest of that money and went out that back door.
And you were what, 12?
About then. I know I was still in elementary, I think.
Okay. What happens to a 12-year-old when he sees that?
Then, dude, I never thought of it. Then, when I went home and told my mama, I just kept my mouth shut.
Oh, you didn't tell your mom what you just saw?
No, she didn't know till the other time I just told her not too long ago. No, I never said a word.
Okay.
Actually, this is the first time I ever saying it publicly.
Okay. So you knew not to snitch even back then as a 12-year-old?
Well, it depends on, I just knew to keep my mouth shut.
Okay.
And then nobody didn't inquire about it. Nobody knew. I even was there when it happened. When he went out that back door, I went out the other door and went back and didn't say nothing and handed my mother her money back.
Okay. So, at what point did you start carrying guns yourself?
I was carrying guns probably at about 14, 13.
Okay. Had you already joined the Crips at that point?
I joined Crips, and I had already been around them, so I always had been around them before they started and when they started on the Westside.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hanging with them.
Okay.
Yeah, we active.
And was there like a jump in that happened back then, or you being a founder that didn't apply to you?
No, I wasn't a founder. See, that's later on in life. We talking 50 years of this. In our era, we never told no kid to come join nothing. We never told, these cats fought over fighting somebody else before you. It wasn't none of that jumping in. Wasn't nothing about being told to go do this. And when they did try to start that, that's when you end up with these sets. And that's how that came about. Else the West Side didn't last very long, simply because of somebody trying to tell somebody what to do, particularly the younger ones.